Imagine you're investing billions into a 10-lane superhighway that leads straight into the middle of nowhere. Today, maybe 3 cars a day drive on it. As a conventional investor, you would probably run away screaming. But as a rational capitalist, we know that in the world of regulated infrastructure, things are rarely what they seem. Where others see a financial graveyard, we see a highly complex state-backed yield system. Today, we are cracking the code of WANDA and KOSMO. These aren't the names of superheroes. They are the regulatory frameworks from the German Federal Network Agency that determine how billions will flow. We are going to look at how to finance the impossible and, crucially, what happens if the revolution fails. The fundamental hurdle in building the hydrogen core network is the classic chicken and egg problem. Heavy industry needs hydrogen to become climate neutral, but they will only switch if the infrastructure is there. However, grid operators will only build if they have customers. If we followed traditional regulatory rules, the first 3 drivers would shoulder the multi-billion euro cost alone. The network tariffs would be so astronomically high that they would be prohibitive. This means no one would use the network, and the project would fail instantly. This is where WANDA comes in. WANDA stands for a financing method we call intertemporal cost allocation. Think of it as a massive regulatory time travel trick. You simply shift today's costs onto the users of tomorrow. Instead of charging the cost plus price, the regulator sets a ramp-up tariff. This is a capped, artificially low price designed to make the switch attractive enough for the industry. Current expert reports suggest a price between 15 and 20 euros per unit to ensure marketability. Now, as a rational capitalist, you're asking, who pays the bill in the meantime? The gap between real costs and low revenues is recorded on an amortization account. Visualize this as a giant credit card guaranteed by the state. During the first phase, likely until the 2040s, this account will rack up a massive deficit. Only when the network is fully utilized will the revenues exceed the current operating costs. This surplus is then used to pay down the account step by step until it ideally reaches 0 by 2055. And here is where it gets exciting for investors. The grid operators receive a calculated return on their capital. For new assets, this interest rate makes investments attractive despite empty pipes, because the state essentially buffers the risk of payment default via that amortization account. But what if the math doesn't work out? What if we reach 2040 and find hydrogen remains too expensive? As rational capitalists, we must price in the failure scenario. The sources from the Federal Network Agency are surprisingly clear. There is a revision mechanism. Every 3 years, the regulator checks. Is the current tariff still enough to reach 0 by 2055? If not, they adjust it. But what if an adjustment is unrealistic because demand has collapsed? At that point, the principle of the revenue maximizing tariff kicks in. The authorities say, we won't raise the price further because even more customers would quit. And if even that isn't enough, that is where the federal guarantee comes in. If the ramp-up fails, the system provides that the German federal government steps in to compensate. The risk of a total loss is virtually regulated away, provided they build efficiently. To make the system even more efficient, the KOSMO framework was introduced later. This is all about the fine print. For example, there are multipliers for short-term capacity bookings. If you book for 1 day, you pay significantly more, specifically a factor of 3.38 for daily products. Why? Because short-term users put an unpredictable load on the grid. Furthermore, the postage stamp principle applies. The tariff is uniform across Germany. This prevents regional competitive disadvantages and ensures solidary financing of the transformation. To summarize, the hydrogen core network is a bet on the future, secured by an ingenious regulatory safety net. It uses intertemporal cost allocation to shift the burden between generations. But one thing must be clear. We are building an infrastructure whose success depends on political vision. If the ramp-up stalls, either tariffs will skyrocket or the taxpayer will close the multi-billion euro gap. What do you think? Is this model the pinnacle of economic reason or a risky shell game? Let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to your rational analysis. If you want to understand how capital actually works in energy, subscribe and hit the bell. Stay rational.